Üst düzeye hoş geldiniz. Bugün Türkiye-İngiltere ikili ticari ilişkileri ve karşılıklı yatırım ortamını konuşacağız. Türkiye'de İngiliz Ticaret Odası Başkanı Gaunt, OBE sorularımızı yanıtlayacak. Ticari anlamda son durum nedir? Yeni gelişmeler var mı? Çünkü İngiltere ve Türkiye arasında serbest ticaret anlaşmasının da yenilenmesi söz konusu. Bunu kendisinden dinleyeceğiz. Chris, thank you for joining us.
No, it's a pleasure. Good to be here.
The year is almost over. So we are finishing 2023 finally. There was like good parts and bad parts of the year. Can we evaluate the year first, 2023? How was in terms of bilateral trade between Turkey and UK and also bilateral investment-wise?
Yeah, well, it has been an up and down year, that's for sure. But one point I'd just like to make is, it's the centenary of the Turkish Republic, and it's a big celebrations for that, which we also had our own celebration for that, and how important strategically Turkey is, or shall I use Turkey? Let's be politically correct. So, the situation when I did my speech at the centenary event that we had, just to emphasize how strategically important Turkey is if you look at the flight from Istanbul to Kyiv, it's 2 hours. Yes. If you look at the flight from Istanbul to Tel Aviv, it's 2 hours. Yeah. Right in the middle. Yes. That's how important Turkey is in relation to the geopolitical situation, and it will always be in that situation because it is where it is. So I just want to again congratulate Turkey on its 100 years anniversary. So back to trade.
Yeah, trade and investment.
Yeah. So the year has been good in terms of bilateral trade. The bilateral trade has now increased to above what it was before COVID. It was around about $23 billion before COVID. It's now in excess of that, around about $24 million. So, it's moving definitely in the right direction. It favours Turkey in terms of exports to UK, so that's good for the Turkish economy. And as we've seen that growth, Turkey has become again a very important trading partner for UK and for Turkey also in terms of our bilateral relationships. So. It's been a good year from that perspective, and we also have this agreement on the free trade agreement.
Yes, we can talk about the free trade agreement here because as we are talking about trade.
Exactly. So when we left the EU and we signed the free trade agreement with Turkey, the situation was a bit tense. At that time, because UK had to sign a free trade agreement with the EU before we could finalise a free trade agreement with Turkey, and that was done at the last minute. Now, the free trade agreement we had in place then, and still have today, is a rollover agreement. It's a continuity agreement.
Okay.
But there was an agreement within that agreement, whereby within 2 to 3 years, that existing agreement would be renegotiated and actually enhanced and enlarged.
Okay.
So now the good news is that we have Turkey and UK, two willing partners to start that negotiation. So that's a big positive for both countries. It's something that I don't think will happen overnight. It will take some time before it's finalised. I think we have to bear in mind, two big events that will take place in 2024. So we have the municipality elections in Turkey. So that will occupy Ankara, I think. prepare their minds. And in UK we have our general election in 2024. So that also will occupy, the British government's minds as well. So, it will take some time before, things start to really materialise. But the good news is we have two willing partners who wish to enhance their trade relationships, which is a positive. And it also emphasises, I think, the potential that Turkey and UK have, and the respect for each other when it comes to trade.
Yeah, you told that so both parts want to widening the free trade agreement. So, for example, which parts were missing, and we want to widening these special parts? What are the specific, what is the top of the agenda?
Well, the areas that the UK government, I think, want to emphasise in terms of the new agreement, are enhancing the range of services that the UK exports to Turkey. I think the other areas are agriculture. Agriculture still is not part of the existing agreement.
Oh, it's not in the existing.
So we'd like to, use our technology on agri-tech and whatever, and other areas of, expertise and knowledge to improve, Turkey's agricultural policy. Then we've got education. Healthcare, looking forward, we've got sustainability.
Of course.
So, there's lots of areas within UK that could help Turkey on that green transition. That has to be involved somewhere in the negotiation.
Exactly. I will come later to that, sustainability subject and the ESG for the companies. But before that, how about bilateral investment? I know that you were in London and you have been attending to many conferences there. And so what were we talking? So I know that there was one conference that for investment, about investment, and many Turkish companies were there as well. So what is your outcome from your London trip?
Well, I wasn't connected with that particular conference, but I was aware of it. Yes. And that's another indication of how we want to enhance our economic and trade relations between the two countries. So, we're seeing a real appetite now of both countries, both the UK and Turkey, wanting to bring more investment into our respective economies. The British government had this big economic investment summit in London, and there are a large number of Turkish companies represented there, which obviously was encouraging. And the Turkish government are also creating opportunities and opening new areas where UK investment can actually function. Yes. We've already seen a big increase in UK investment by UKEF into Turkey, UK Export Finance. They've been involved in the new railway high-speed rail links. So they've been funding part of that programme and using UK rail technology in that. So that's already started. Things are moving in the right direction, and it's pleasing to hear that coming from Ankara, Minister Şimşek, starting to move things forward. So all this is very encouraging.
Okay, so you have been attending also many other conferences like Tony Blair event and Chatham House, I think so. So you want to talk about any of these events?
Yes. I mean,
short, comments.
I mean, the UK business community are very interested in the new free trade agreement. Yeah, because they see a lot of opportunity. I think we all clearly understand that Turkey has not realised its full potential. So there's still a lot of headroom for growth in Turkey, both domestically and also Turkey's influence regionally from a trade perspective. So lots of large Turkish companies who operate in Central Asia, the Middle East, across to Africa. Also, the Turkish construction sector that is one of the largest in the world, second after China. So there's big opportunities there, and
for partnerships, actually.
For partnerships, and UKEF have already been involved in projects with Turkish construction companies in Iraq and Central Asia and several other countries. So that's already working, but there's more opportunity to grow that. So it's the opportunities are there. So that's something that we'll be working on through our colleagues in the consulate and the British Embassy. Yes. They're very active in promoting this.
Exactly. You are doing a lot of conferences in Turkey as well.
Yes. I mean, in UK, the free trade agreement, everybody's interested in what's going to happen, what new sectors will be opened, because
it's
business opportunities, and UK exporters need to plan for these opportunities. So in UK, I did 3 free trade agreement seminars, sort of giving some information on what to expect and how to prepare. So as I say, there's a clear appetite in UK for a successful, enhanced, strengthened free trade agreement. So. Okay.
I see. So before coming to ESG, just one last question about relating to trade. Actually, for example, any news or progress about customs union? Because this is also among major problems.
The EU,
and UK.
Well, again, Minister Şimşek did make an announcement a few weeks ago about wanting to have a stronger relationship with the EU, and obviously it would benefit both countries in terms of their trade because the EU is still Turkey's biggest export market. So strengthening that would benefit everybody, and so that's something that obviously I think we all encourage to have a stronger customs union agreement, and given the way that the customs unions operate and how the legislation comes into place, I think that would also improve the understanding of strengthening Turkey's legislation and other areas around tariffs and customs agreements. So.
So this, for example, for customs union also, we are making progress between UK and.
Well, yes, I think there's an appetite now for both sides to actually start a discussion. Okay. So that's again
that's a good news.
Good news, yes.
Okay. So let's talk about corporate social responsibility. So we were talking about sustainability. We are talking about sustainability, but the thing is that are we successful enough for this ESG topic and sustainability topic? So this is a huge thing. This is the most important area actually for private sector and for governments. So are we paying enough attention for this? I know that in EU and UK, this is a law. now.
Well, it's
right?
in legislation.
It's in legislation.
About climate change and carbon reduction.
Yes.
But
this is not the same for Turkey.
That's in legislation, yes.
Yes.
So, it is a law that we have to reduce our carbon emissions, and as far as I'm aware, it's not the case in Turkey. So, if you go back to the beginning of 2000, when corporate social responsibility, CSR was then being introduced into business, it was very clear that this enhanced the value of companies who actually engaged with CSR, and the investors actually valued companies that had embedded CSR in their corporate governance and actually operated a CSR policy to the benefit of their employees and civil society. They were valued higher than companies that did not, because they were better run companies, they were better managed companies. And that was the same for Turkey as it was anywhere else.
Yes.
And we're now in a similar situation with ESG. So, I remember when CCI were doing the investment in expanding their IPO in 2005. CSR was a key element in attracting the right level of investment. So it works for everybody, and looking at the way that the financial sector is looking at ESG, companies that engage with ESG are valued higher than companies that don't.
So
but it's not a choice.
Exactly.
You don't have a choice. Nobody's exempt. We all have a responsibility on green transition and reducing our carbon footprint. So it's a responsibility we have as individuals, it's a responsibility we have as families, it's a responsibility we have as companies, it's a responsibility for governments. So nobody is exempt, and if we want to achieve our carbon reduction targets by whichever country you're in, 2045 or 2050.
Yeah, so very shortly, because we have 1 minute left, so what will be your advice to Turkey and Turkish companies in the way to follow ESG rules?
Well, yeah, as I say, when you look at the new regulations coming from the EU, which Turkey have signed up to, if you're not compliant with the new legislation from the EU or from UK or from the US, you will not be able to export to those countries. So, businesses, cannot, avoid being part of it, because they're going to lose their export businesses if they're not compliant. And they really have to understand. And also the financial services have made it very clear that if you aren't implementing programs that have to reduce carbon footprint, then you will not be able to access funding for your business. So it's very clear. You don't have a choice. And every level of business has to be compliant, including your supply chain, not just your company.
Thank you for joining us, Chris. And as much as there is a developments and progress in trade and investment and free trade agreements, so we always wait you for the interview. Thank you very much.
We're very optimistic.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bakıyoruz Türkiye'ye.
Evet, üst düzeyde Türkiye-İngiltere ikili ticari ve yatırım ilişkilerini konuştuk. Türkiye'de İngiltere Ticaret Odası Başkanı Chris Gaunt, OBE sorularımızı cevapladı. Haftaya görüşmek üzere, hoşça kalın.